Coming up on Tech News Today, Skype gets cheaper for Microsoft by firing a bunch of people. Facebook gets a music tab, possibly coming in August. And is Bitcoin safe? We'll find out next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Monday, June 20th, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, phone, or TV instantly, all streamed directly to you, saving you time, money, and hassle. For your free 30-day trial, go to netflix.com/twit. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Darren Kitchen.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show where we kick around the tech news of the day along with you, try to make some sense of it all. Those of you listening to the audio podcast in particular may notice some weirdness today. We started moving equipment down to the new TWiT studio, which means we have different equipment in here today, which means we're still...
We reverted back a couple of years.
We're still working out the pipe connections for all of the audio, so the live recording was a little different, so there may be some weirdness in there. Jason, I'm assuming we can all blame Chad Johnson.
Sure.
Since he's the newest employee.
Well, and he's also the person that's not here. So let's blame the person
he's
that's not here.
He's the newest employee and not here. So it's all Chad's fault. Right to him. Chad at TWiT.tv.
Well, that's sort of the rule. You know, when something goes wrong, if you're the guy at lunch, you did it.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
True. But joining us is Tim Stevens, Editor-in-Chief of Engadget. Good to have you back on the show, Tim.
Thank you for having me, and happy Monday.
Yes, thank you for helping us break in the equipment.
Doing my best.
I appreciate that. Let's start off with Skype. Microsoft got its official antitrust approval from the Federal Trade Commission on June 17th, so they can go ahead and finish buying Skype. It's all been approved. At the same time, Skype decided to fire a bunch of people. Vice Presidents David Gurl, Christopher Dean, Russ Shaw, and Don Albert were dismissed. Chief Marketing Officer Doug Buescher and Ann Gillespie, Head of Human Resources, were dismissed. And executives Ramu Sankara, Allison Kampa, who came along in the 2011 purchase of Quick, were shown the door.
Now,
as
can
they say.
we assume
Made redundant.
that this is Silver Lake's doing, because they're the ones who end up having to pay people out when the transition moves over to Microsoft, because it's packages that were in contracts ahead of time?
That's a good question. So Silver Lake was brought in to handle the transition, and as I recall it from having been through one of these transitions, you're not allowed to do anything that you wouldn't do anyway before the purchase is closed. So I don't know that they could get away with that. What Skype is claiming is that these were dismissals that were already in the works, that they've been moving to a more engineering-centric organization, and that this is just them continuing on that path. The timing is very suspect.
I mean, in the Business Week article about this very subject, it does say that Silver Lake, which is a private equity firm, and several Skype directors had voiced their opinions actively on exactly who should be fired. These are two anonymous sources. So, yeah, but I agree with you that they wouldn't be able to say, hey, this is just, come on, we want to save some money here.
Yeah, get them out of there quick.
Right. It also makes you look pretty douchey.
Tim, do you have any clue on how that would work?
No, I can't say as I do. Unfortunately, I've been in companies that have been going through these sorts of things before, but never at the level where I would have been affected like this. So no, unfortunately, I don't have any insider information to add here.
Yeah, I think it's going to get a lot of bad press for Skype and for Microsoft, but ultimately it'll be a bump in the road. It's just going to be a lot of people going, "Ooh, that was nasty."
Yeah, an $8.5
I'm sure there'll be
billion dollar bump in the road.
Yeah, and there'll be some out-of-court settlements, I'm sure, and everybody will be happy, and everyone will forget about it.
It isn't. It's nice, though, that the spokesperson from Skype said, it's just a recent internal shift. We've made some management changes. It's like, that's a lot of people to actually fire. I mean, it's not even really a management shift around. It's just a lot of people who have been axed, and they're all at high-level positions, so hard to spin that one, really.
Now, some other more consumer-oriented news out of Skype. Sony will be bringing Skype to the PlayStation Vita, which it did have Skype on the PlayStation Portable, so we shouldn't be too surprised about this, but the fact that Microsoft now owns Skype, a lot of people thought, well, maybe they won't want to deliver it to a Microsoft competitor. But Microsoft and Sony aren't really competing in the mobile space as much. This also is not official from Sony. It's according to shots of a Sony presentation in Sao Paulo, Brazil, posted by Game Generation.
But Microsoft has gone ahead and actually released a statement saying that it will continue to invest and to support Skype clients on non-Microsoft platforms. So that's a nice little message of good faith there.
So they say.
So they say.
Well, I mean, Microsoft did just get this antitrust go-ahead to purchase Skype, too. I mean, if Skype was already, there was already a Skype application for the PSP in 2008, then it's not that weird that Skype and Sony would be working together again, and obviously these would have been conversations that would have gone back sometime.
Actually, it would look worse the other direction.
Exactly.
Skype also announced integration with Facebook. GigaOM suspects it may help Facebook raise its numbers in places where growth may have stalled because the audiences of Skype and Facebook don't totally overlap.
This one I kind of have a hard time. Okay, so Skype has about 145 million connected users per month, so it's a very active user base. Facebook has, what, 600 million active Facebook accounts? Okay, so that's a lot more than there are Skype users, but I find it hard to believe that you would get that many new Facebook signups based on people using Skype that weren't already on Facebook.
Well, do you think that that's the motive, is to integrate Facebook into Skype to drive Facebook signups, or is it one of those things where like smartphones synchronize with Facebook already because, you know, I don't need to worry if you get a new phone number, you update it on Facebook since I've got your contact on my smartphone through Facebook. I automatically have the new number. I'm imagining same idea with Skype.
Well, that's true, and I mean, a lot of people use Facebook as their primary method of figuring out people's updated contact information. I don't even update anybody's phone numbers anymore because it's easy enough to pull from them. Or for the people who at least put their numbers on Facebook. A lot of people do. A lot of people don't. And a lot of people use Skype as their primary contact book as well.
Yeah, Tim, what do you think? I don't think this is really going to bring a lot of new people into Facebook. If you're on Skype and you're not on Facebook, there's probably a bigger reason than, well, I couldn't integrate my contact list before.
Yeah, contact syncing is definitely going to be a big help for Skype, but I think, if anything, it'll help to drive more traffic back to Facebook and back to Skype. So if you can easily Skype somebody right from Facebook, I think that'll help to drive more Skype traffic. And the same thing in reverse, if you can send somebody a Facebook message from Skype, that'll help there as well. So I think it's not so much bringing new people to either service as it is bringing more traffic back and forth between the two services.
That makes sense. Facebook also, according to GigaOM, looking to add a music service, not just one, but a music tab. They report that Facebook's reaching out to Spotify and several other music services for integration to be unveiled at a developer conference. They do a developer conference called F8. Sounds like that conference may be in August this year. Facebook Connect and Facebook Likes would be a key component of this effort. According to GigaOM, there'd be a new tab called Music that would be added to the left side. Once you add a music service by logging in with Facebook Connect, that music tab would show up. All of your music services would be in there. There'd be a persistent play button across all the pages down there where chat is, the way chat is persistent. There would also be in the music tab listing of recent songs you've played, top tracks, aggregating the plays across different services, what your friends have played, sort of Last FM kind of stats would be involved in this. I think this is a pretty cool idea if it does end up being true.
Yeah, I find this a lot more interesting than the previous story because it seems like a lot of web applications can easily integrate Facebook features into their site, but this is the other way around, putting, you know, that whether it's a Pandora or a Last.fm or whatever inside of Facebook, and then that gets, you know, the gears spinning, thinking, oh, you know, like Gmail has the Google Voice, the Google, you know, imagine Skype integrated into Facebook. Pie in the sky.
I don't know. I think
this makes a lot more sense because like Ping, what was it?
Oh yeah, Apple's.
Yeah, Apple's. I forgot about what it was.
I feel like Last.fm music stats. You know, I know that they're still very interesting to a lot of people. My usage fell off a lot because I don't really care how many times you listen to a particular song. It's also the way I feel about if I were to go to your Facebook profile and you were to list all your favorite bands, it's like that's just not stuff I'm checking that much anymore. But if there was a cool social tab that Facebook could somehow integrate, that's almost like more of a turntable. That's that DJ session where you all like go into one room. It's basically just a tab on your browser, and you take turns playing songs and talk about it. That sort of thing would make a lot more sense to me because it seems more Facebook-y, where you all go in there and collaborate with each other, rather than I see Tom just played Britney Spears, and before that he played Janet Jackson. I'm making assumptions about your
that you've
taste.
obviously been looking at my last FM.
Right.
But I think that I like the chart aspect of it, to be like, oh, these are Sarah's most popular artists, you know, Creedence Clearwater Revival and Merle Haggard, and now I know what Sarah likes.
If you were trying to like, I mean, that's not too far off, actually.
Yeah, no, I've been looking at your last FM. I would like that. Tim, would you like that?
Yeah, I would like that. I mean, if anything, I think this will be the final blow to MySpace, because what are people still going to MySpace for at this point? Really, music is one of the things that they do pretty well. And if Facebook can integrate all these services together and add some social features like Sarah was talking about, I think that would be a very compelling alternative to what is one of the last good things at MySpace, which is music. There's really nothing else left there for me anyway in MySpace that I would even consider going back there. You can add the page aspect for bands and also streaming music and the social aspects. It could be kind of fun.
MySpace, News Corp better hurry up and sell them now if this turns out.
Yeah.
A couple other Facebook notes. They're expected to book more display ads than Google or Yahoo. Of course, Facebook only books display ads. So $2.1 billion in display ads is expected this year versus Google's $1.15 billion in display ads. Google does lots of other types of ads, and Yahoo $1.62 billion. And a new report claims that Apple is helping out with Facebook's Project Spartan that we talked about at the end of last week. That's the HTML5 web app platform. Facebook and Apple have sort of a love-hate relationship, but the rumor is that Apple is pitching in to help them out in exchange for Facebook promising to bring the iPad app out finally.
Right, and there is some question about how much Apple really knows about how Facebook wants to integrate its own Facebook currency. I always forget what it's called, Facebook coins. Whatever
Facebook credit? Is that
Facebook
right?
credits, yeah. So there may be a little bit of why Facebook
Federation
got
credits?
so bristly about Project Spartan coming to light, because they weren't ready to tell Apple what their long-term, 5 years down the road strategy might be.
Now, have any of you used Sage TV before?
No.
I have.
Okay, yeah, so you guys are fans. Most everybody uses it.
I actually used it when it was like, I don't know if it was open source, but it was like very early on in the project.
Well, it's been around since 2002.
Yeah,
so,
I tried it when I was building a car computer, MP3 car thing, and it was like one of the alternatives to my HTPC.
The big news today is that Sage TV's been acquired by Google. Now, Sage TV makes home theater PC software, so it's similar to the kind of thing that runs on a TiVo. It's DVR-type software. Google TV does not have DVR functionality. Tim, does this mean we're going to get Sage TV in the next Google TV?
Yeah, absolutely. That has to be the expectation, and I think that's one of the big things that Google TV is missing, is the ability to turn your Google TV into some kind of an HTPC. And if they can add that I think would definitely be a huge advantage. The question is, of course, how are they going to do that? Will they be building in cable TV tuners into the Google TVs, or is it going to be something based on the HDMI input that they already have? But yes, HTV has been around forever, like you said, and it's definitely one of the better alternatives out there. At $80, it was priced comparably to the others, and I think it's unfortunate that it's now off the market basically, but ultimately it should be free inside of Google TV. So
why do they
definitely
do
be
that?
a big advantage.
Why do companies do that when they buy a company and they just remove the service? I mean, why couldn't they continue to let Sage TV sell their software until such time as they roll it into Google TV?
Or at least give like a 1 or 2 week warning to say, hey, we're going to shut this down in 2 weeks. So if you were on the fence, maybe you should go ahead and pull the trigger.
I guess they don't want to support anybody any more than they have to, customer support sort of thing. But yeah, it could be a really good thing for Google TV. It'll be interesting to see what they do with this. Obviously, it's meant for Google TV. Let's take.
We also got news today. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
News today that basically it looks like you're going to be able to push apps to your Google TV very soon. If you go into the Android market now, you can see your Google TV devices listed there, which seems to be an indicator that it won't be too long before you'll be able to push apps right to your Google TV. So the platform has been pretty stagnant since it released, but it's definitely starting to look better.
That might make me pull it out of the bedroom. We'll have to see. It's kind of the backroom platform for me right now.
Okay, Tom.
What they
keep
say.
Google TV out of the bedroom, ladies and gentlemen.
Moving right along.
Let's take a quick break and thank our sponsor, Netflix. You can watch all kinds of streaming movies and TV shows on a Google TV, on a Roku box, on a PlayStation, on an Xbox 360, Nintendo Wii. Watch them on your iPhone, on Android phones. Netflix movies and TV shows streamed right to the device you want, including your television, instantly. I've been mentioning before, we've been watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel now. What's interesting is it's really easy in these interfaces to just pop back and forth because you see all the episodes and you're like, okay, I'm 4th episode into this season. Now I can match up the other episode from Angel because they were airing at the same time.
Because Angel was a spinoff, right?
I can watch them. The dates are there. I can watch everything all at the same time. It's pretty fun. Netflix.com/twit is the place to go if you want to try it out. You will get 30 days free. Be sure to use that URL when you sign up for your free trial so that we get credit for it. Helps support Tech News Today and all the shows on Twit. Netflix.com/twit. We thank them for their support. Yes. So it wouldn't be tech news these days without some security stories. And this one is the teaming up of 2 organizations in the hacking world who appeared to be splinter groups of each other, but now they're saying they're total bros. Anonymous and LulzSec teaming up on something they're calling Operation Anti-Sec. The operation's top priority, according to a LulzSec press release, is to steal and leak any classified government information, including emails, spools, and documentation. Prime targets are banks and other high-ranking establishments. They say if they try to censor our progress, we will obliterate the censor with cannon fire anointed with lizard blood.
This press release actually goes on to very much sound like the Hacker's Manifesto by the Mentor. I'll just read one quote here from LulzSec's press release. It says, "Together we can defend ourselves so that our privacy is not overrun by profiteering gluttons. Your hat can be white, gray, or black. Your skin or race are not important." Whereas the Hacker's Manifesto here says, "We make use of a service already existing without paying for what could be dirt cheap if it wasn't run by a bunch of profiteering gluttons. You call us criminals, we explore. And you call us criminals, we seek after knowledge. And you call us criminals, we exist without skin color, without nationality, without religious bias. You call us criminals." I just found that similarity kind of interesting there.
LulzSec is becoming more serious with this. This is less about the lulz if they're targeting classified.
Well, to begin with, it was just random lulz,
yeah,
or at least it seemed.
Their first hit has already been carried out. The UK's Serious Organised Crime Agency has taken its website offline after it appeared to be a victim of a DDoS attack. Lulz Security took responsibility for it, saying tango down soca.co.uk or .gov.uk in the name of #anti-sec. Meanwhile, E.J. Hilbert on Twitter, an ex-FBI agent and security researcher and consultant, says it appears that the identities of the heads of LulzSec have been shared with me and have been confirmed. All things come to an end, although it doesn't seem like anything has ended yet.
That's such a weird tweet. Somebody who's an ex-FBI agent, even if that was true, to say something like that on Twitter, that almost seems fake.
Do you think it's attention-getting?
I don't know if it's attention-getting. Well, I mean, it obviously
definitely
got our attention.
It invites these organizations to target him now.
Exactly.
Well,
it's like, I just don't feel like that's the way the FBI likes to operate. We know
it could also be him trying to spread doubt within these organizations as well to make them think, oh, has this person been caught and been turned into an FBI agent?
You also have to kind of consider, like in that that attack you were talking about, in that case it was a DDoS, and they quote in their, LulzSec quotes in their tweet, DDoS is of course our least powerful and most abundant ammunition. Government hacking is taking place right now behind the scenes. Well, that behind-the-scenes stuff is more interesting. The DDoS stuff is not necessarily anonymous, no pun intended. It is just as unanonymous as, say, torrenting music or movie file off of the Pirate Bay. Your IP
but
is
Hilbert
exposed,
posted that he knew their identity before they started hitting the Serious Organized Crime Agency.
Well, the same thing happened to Anonymous weeks back. You know, the identities of multiple anonymous members came to light. It wouldn't surprise me if...
I think that was 2 weeks ago.
Wouldn't surprise me if LulzSec-affiliated members that were involved in DDoS were found as well, because, I mean, honestly, it's not that difficult.
It just seems like a lot of bravado going on. I mean, just last week, they were Anonymous and LulzSec, at least via Twitter, were hurling insults at each other, and this week it's... Oh, we're all going to work together, and now we've joined to create a new, stronger beast. I just, you know...
This is going to surprise you, Sarah. But it seems to me that way back, long time ago, like in the 1990s when I hung out in Pound 2600, Pound Freaks and stuff on Delnet, much like the IRC groups of the day, there was, believe it or not, drama on IRC.
No.
Yes.
Darren.
I know.
Come on.
It's
I don't believe
it's unheard of,
Yeah.
but it seems like this is very similar to
I see.
some of that.
So this is just an
History
up
repeating itself.
period in the relationship. They may fall out again. Is that what you're saying?
I've seen stuff like this with like freak groups and wares groups and skiddies and wares pups and you name it.
Well, meanwhile, LulzSec playing the white hat a little bit in defense of Sega. Sega was hacked over the weekend. They lost 1.3 million customers' information, including names, birth dates, email addresses, and encrypted passwords of users of Sega Pass.
Yay! Good on you for encrypting those passwords. They didn't say whether or not they were salted, but
I believe I read somewhere that they might have been, but I wasn't sure. Yahoo reports that LulzSec posted on Twitter, Sega, contact us. We want to help you destroy the hackers that attacked you. We love the Dreamcast. These people are going down.
Yeah, I mean, when I get hacked, the first group that I want to go to reach out for help is LulzSec. Because I know that they're...
Why not? They actually seem to
don't
know what they're doing.
Yeah, they don't not in the business of fooling anybody or pulling the rug out from under anybody. I mean, it just seems like
They're good at finding vulnerabilities.
that's
there you
true.
go.
But are they really on Sega's side? Come on.
well,
Just-
no one can deny that the Dreamcast was not awesome. So I mean, I gotta have to side with LulzSec here. You know?
But can
It
you
was awesome.
can you imagine Sega saying, "Can you really help? Okay. What do you need from us? Some confidential information, but then you'll get us the
Can we
guys."
get some logins? Yeah,
Okay,
some logins would do.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
And then they, do it for the
Sega's smarter
lulz and
than
run
that.
off into the sunset. Well, of course, but
What I would do if I were Sega is I'd say, great, let us know if you see any vulnerabilities. That is a no-risk thing.
That's
You're
true.
basically taking a group that is really good at finding vulnerabilities and asking them to tell you about them. If
And
they
then-
don't, you haven't lost anything.
And in some instances, LulzSec has done just that, found vulnerabilities, and I forget what
Yeah.
corporation it was, but they just sent them a polite email saying, hey, your blubbity-blah's wide open, and then the bloopity-bloops will get in, so don't do that.
that is graphic.
It is. You don't want your blubbity-blah to be hanging wide open. No.
Sure don't.
Yeah, that is
Not out-
hacker talk
not out
to the
on a
one
public
there.
street.
That's so last year.
All right, let's move on to the New York Post, pulling a interesting move to try to make money by reducing the number of people who can access their content. The New York Post has blocked iPad users from browsing New York Post's website in the Safari browser. Instead, they get an ad saying, thanks for coming to nypost.com. Editorial content is now only accessible on the iPad through the New York Post app. If you're a current New York Post app subscriber, visit the App Store and download the latest version to access nypost.com through the index. If you're not a current New York Post app user and would like to subscribe, please download from the App Store.
Get off my lawn, you freeloaders.
The grammatical error has since been fixed, but it did look like it was hastily put up this morning where thanks was apostrophe S.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying. It was
that-
like a
you know what that
glaring
is?
error.
They are a newspaper.
That's webmasters making policy. Is
Well,
what that is.
someone saying, here's just something like this.
Yeah.
You write it in your own words. Make it sound natural, and that's what it turned out to be. What's interesting is we tried it on Safari as of about an hour ago on my iPad app. You still do get that. But then if you access it on Opera Mini, for example, it comes up just fine. NewYorkPost.com.
Yeah.
But anybody who's familiar with Opera Mini, I mean, it does strip out a lot of
Makes it a readable version.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's almost like just a mobile version of any website. But then I opened it on Atomic, which is an alternative browser for iPad users who don't want to use Safari. It looks just fine. Everything's fine. I clicked on a few links. Everything loads as if I was on any other browser.
Tim, this is just another in a series of probably doomed strategies of newspapers to force you to pay for content. Is it got any more chance of working than others?
I think this one will actually be reasonably successful. As easy as it is to get around for someone who knows what they're doing, the average iPad user has no idea that there are alternate browsers out there. And I think that it will help to drive more traffic to their app, and I think it will probably push sales in the short term. But ultimately, I think it'll just do what all these paywalls and everything else does, which is drive traffic away. And so we'll see how long that they keep this in place for. I'm sure that they'll have something that's a little bit less heavy-handed in place within the next few weeks, maybe. But ultimately, this is just a very heavy-handed, short-term kind of solution that I don't think will be there for very long.
I think the people who are unlikely to have found alternative browsers in the App Store are also the same people unlikely to take the time to want to go and download an app just to read a story that they happen to want to see on nypost.com.
Exactly. And I mean,
Very true.
The last time I visited the New York Post Facebook page, things seemed to be under control, but there was word that all of the links that they were posting since they implemented this were now broken because of whatever change they made internally. So they were ruining a lot more for themselves as far as people just saying, this isn't working, I'm going to go read something else, than getting a lot of app subscriptions.
It's just going to take a few decades for everyone to learn that by
No,
breaking
don't say that.
things...
It's going to take 30 years. It can't. It won't.
I don't know.
Tablets are a passing fad. In 30 years, we'll laugh about all of this.
Well, no, but it's just that
So is the
principle
internet.
of let me break something to protect it.
Yeah, I know.
The music industry has mostly worked through, but nobody else seems to have learned from their mistakes. Everybody has to make their own mistakes, so this is the newspaper industry doing that.
New York Post, we salute you.
For making the mistakes, blazing the
Congratulations
trail.
on your mistake.
Finally, Bitcoin crash. Was it Black Sunday at MtGox? Bitcoin fell from $17 per coin to pennies in a matter of minutes, at which point trading was suspended. Apparently a database of MtGox users had been circulating online, and the file included username, email address, and hashed passwords for thousands of MtGox users. The attacks have reportedly been traced to a Hong Kong IP, but that could be forwarded through who knows how many other hops, so we don't really know if the hackers that took it were in Hong Kong or not. We got an email from FaxMonkey, who said he has some first-hand info on the MtGox hack. It started on June 14th. LulzSec claims to have hacked Bitcoin exchanges. There's a couple paste bin links for that. Other posts are more specific, named MtGox explicitly in the hack. 5 days ago, there were posts saying MtGox was hacked. And then 7 days ago, MtGox put in a $1,000 withdrawal limit, and over the past 2 days there were rumblings that the database was for sale. So his complaint is MtGox knew that, or should have known, that this hack had happened for a week, but it wasn't until yesterday that they finally admitted they were hacked.
Okay, so well, they're actually not admitting that they're hacked. They're trying to say that it appears that someone who performs audits on our system, who had read access, only access to our database, basically lifted it, and they're like, oh, so it wasn't, like it wasn't a SQL injection attack or something. It was somebody from the inside that stole it. That's what they're saying, but and they're also saying that 2 months ago they moved from MD5 hashing to salted hashes. Really, the only thing that you as the techie needs to really know about that is that salted hashes are secure and unsalted ones are pathetic. So there's still 1,600 accounts that were not salted. They're idle users that hadn't logged in and updated for a while, and they're saying that once they come back online, they're going to put together this really crazy multi-iterated salting anyway. So supposedly they're going to be secure when they come back, but the thing that happened last week was that around 25,000 bitcoins were stolen from 25,000 accounts, at the time equal to somewhere between 375,000 to 500,000 US dollars. Of course, they were thwarted by that $1,000 limit, but there was a bunch of rumblings on Twitter and forum and Reddit and all over the place saying, "Hey, my account," So MtGox.
And then the hackers took all those bitcoins and started selling them for pennies.
Yeah, it crashed when
crashing the
100,000 bitcoins were sold like incredibly cheap. Took it from $17.50 to like a penny, and MtGox went ahead and just shut it off, which upset a lot of people. One person here, WitSlack, wrote, "Shutting down a market is an artificial move that is in opposition to the concept of a free market." I'm not a huge financial guy, but I will tell you that that MtGox is trying to reverse the transaction that caused the crash.
Well,
so they're trying to take a mulligan on it.
There's a lot of FUD out there about Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin is still a very solid currency, such as it is. You can't counterfeit Bitcoin. If you pay attention to these stories, they're all about stealing wallets, stealing the coins that are actually legitimately in somebody's wallet. So you have to be able to actually take that data file and replicate it. You can't just hack in and fake bitcoins.
You're right. You can't duplicate them. But if your wallet is stored at MtGox and the 61,000 username databases
Well,
out in
you
the
don't
open.
have to store them at MtGox. You can
You're right,
store
there's
them
other
locally. You
exchanges.
can encrypt them yourself, and the value of them is just based on whatever anybody else will accept. So this idea of like people lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, well, they didn't really. Maybe they were running the Bitcoin app, which creates Bitcoins by using the cycles in your processor, and had just, they'd spent a lot of time in there, but those Bitcoins are only worth what other people will take for them. And these exchanges are where we get these valuations, because you're basing what other people think they're worth. Tim, do you think Bitcoin is getting too much attention for as early in the game and as experimental as it is?
No, I don't think so at all. I think it's a fascinating social experiment, and right now I'm pretty glad to be sitting on the outside watching it all take place, to be honest with you. But no, I think that we're all very interested to know what the future of currency is going to be, and I think that this is definitely a brave attempt at creating the future of currency. I think it's too early for most people to be interested in this kind of a thing, but I think that we're all very curious to see how it pans out. So I don't know if it's getting too much attention, but like you said, there certainly is a lot of FUD flying around, and it's hard to know exactly who's being hacked and how they've been hacked and how much currency has actually been stolen versus how much has just been devalued. And we'll see how it pans out. But like I said, I'm fascinated to watch how this pans out, and again, I'm glad to be on the outside looking in.
I have 5 Bitcoins, but I have them in a secret safe. I printed them
And I also have
out.
to say, how bad does it have to be when the company that does your security audits is the company that hacked you? Maybe you should have spent a little bit more on your auditing service, perhaps.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's a good point.
Well, this is another case of systems administrators having more access than they need. I understand they need to, say, back up the database, but do they need to read the entire data? Well, okay, I see the problem here. But, again, same issue.
If you're one of those people like Parker R in the chat room right now, who's like, "Am I the only one that has no clue what Bitcoin is?" Still, check out Security Now. I hosted an episode filled in for Leo Laporte where Steve Gibson does a great job of explaining all the ins and outs of this. So just do a search Security Now Bitcoin. You'll find that episode. It's better than anything we could try to do to explain it right now. Let's take a quick move, not a break, but a move into News Fuse. We take no pleasure in telling you that another arm of Sony has been hacked. How many arms do they have? This time, 2 hackers by the handles of IDAC and Authentic, that's spelled with a 3, stole over 177,000 emails from Sony Pictures France. The 2 claimed they used a SQL injection and posted 70 of the emails online. According to attrition.org, this is the 20th Sony breach in 2 months. So happy 20, Sony.
Cable giant Cox has been building its own cellular network for some time now, along with some novel wireless plans like refunding money for customers for unused minutes. Hope you don't get too attached to the new wireless carrier, because Cox's president said the company could sell its network to AT&T, Sprint, or another competitor. After running some numbers, the cellular communications business apparently just won't make Cox enough money for the company to continue competing. They gave up.
Aw. Hey, congratulations to Japan. They've got the world's fastest computer. They're calling it the K computer.
Is that like the K car?
It's better than the K line. And it's able to process more than 8 petaflops a second using more than 640,000 processing cores. So the K computer was built by Fujitsu, and it's located at the Riken Advanced Institute for Computational Science. And the next fastest machine, check this out, the second place person, is in China, and it can only handle a pathetic 2.6 petaflops per second. Which I think goes to show petaflop. Sorry, and I think this just goes to show that 640,000 processing cores should be enough for anyone.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. That's
The
how
latest
quote goes.
build of Windows 8 has some secrets in its code. There's a new virtual keyboard that integrates with the Metro UI look. Oh, very tablety. The Windows App Store may be able to unlock features within the Windows 8 operating system, which mean you might be able to upgrade Windows 8 from Home to Pro via the App Store. Also, Windows 8 looks like it may have geolocation and, get this, SMS support. 2 fine features to have on your 3G-enabled wireless tablet.
Somebody get Dan Brown on the novel version of this.
Also, the Pope.
Windows 8 secrets. Yeah, and that too. There's a new PlayStation, everybody! Wow! But don't get too excited, because Sony has revised the 320GB PS3's internals by shaving 400 grams off.
I thought it was unhealthy before, but now it's ridiculous.
That's a little over 14 ounces less. The new slimmer PS3, much better shape. Also uses less power, running at 200 watts compared to 230 watts of the previous version. You can identify the new PS3s by the model number CECH 3000. If you're holding off for the PS4, Sony exec Jack Tretton says it's not coming for quite some time. So a little more
I
anticlimactic
think the pressure
than I would have
on
liked.
game consoles to keep getting slimmer is just unconscionable.
You know, pretty soon they're going to be 2D, and that's just confusing.
How about some ice cream?
Okay.
All right, check it out. This is My Next is reporting that Android 3.2 will be the last point update to the Honeycomb version of Android. 3.2 brings support for 7-inch screens, better hardware acceleration, and it runs on Qualcomm as well as NVIDIA's Tegra 2 processors. But then after 3.2, Google's moving on to Ice Cream Sandwich,
Yummy.
which mashes together the tablet and the phone versions of Android. It's like a sandwich. You guys know how I feel about a sandwich.
Nothing better
But
than a
you're
good sandwich.
you're always into the ham sandwich. The ice cream sandwich is not a ham
I try
sandwich.
to keep my
Let's
ham
get
sandwich
ham ice cream.
relationship private.
Okay.
I don't want to flaunt.
No,
it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Bloomberg reports that Sprint and LightSquared have signed a 15-year deal to share network expansion costs and equipment. The deal is rumored to be worth about $20 billion. The team will put together a nationwide LTE network that Sprint could use. They can switch from WiMAX to LTE with a software upgrade, you know. And LightSquared can then license it to other carriers as well. LightSquared has also announced that they think they've taken care of that whole GPS jamming issue they had with a twofold solution. So its network ought to be online as planned.
If you ever wanted to order, I don't know, a head of lettuce
Ham
from
sandwich.
Amazon.com, a ham sandwich, or an ice cream sandwich even, from Amazon, you might be able to if you live in Seattle. Amazon is currently testing a grocery delivery service called Amazon Fresh.
Webvan.
In select
Yeah,
neighborhoods
Webvan.
in Seattle. It reminds me of nothing I've heard before. Jeff Bezos, although this is Amazon, so, you know, Jeff Bezos says the company is still trying to figure out if Amazon Fresh will go beyond the testing stage because it's an expensive service to provide. At the end of the day, and Amazon is all about being profitable.
Oh, right. They're a company. Yeah, so they...
I'd also like to know how fresh is fresh when you're talking about a delivery service
Dude,
through
like,
Amazon.
if it's fresh, that's reason enough to move to Seattle. Like sandwiches delivered from Amazon.
Bezos is like, look, we're going to try this grocery delivery thing, but unlike Webvan, we want to be profitable. So
Right.
we're not crazy.
That was their major flaw. They didn't want it enough.
Randomizer.
A gadget reporting on a hybrid rocket seaweed jet ready to fly in 2050. What's cooler than jetting from Paris to Tokyo, right, Sean Buckley? Getting there in a biofuel-burning hybrid rocket plane.
I want to fly in a rocket plane.
You're fast, you're rockety, and you're green. Literally, burning seaweed.
I love everything about this.
Yeah.
And rocket fuel as well. It'll do both. So you can use green fuels to
Right.
get up to speed and then turn on the rockets and away you go. I've got my tickets booked.
Yeah.
Prototype won't be ready until 2020. Commercial flights aren't expected to follow until the middle of the century. So we're not going to be riding this anytime soon. But what is it going to do with our declining seaweed stores? That's what I'm worried about.
What's it
Think
really?
of the sushi.
Yes, sushi will be unwrapped.
Did they say anything about how fast this thing goes? Because potentially you could get a taco from the future with it. Just saying, if it took off from the East Coast with a bucket full of tacos and then got to the West Coast, like faster than the Earth's, you know what I'm saying?
They're gonna
Tacos from the future.
Yeah,
from
no.
the East Coast.
Anyone who's
I mean,
ever flown a Concorde jet
I
understands what you're talking
get
about.
what you're saying, but
I mean, the only flaw in is why would somebody in California want to eat a taco from the East Coast? But it could happen.
It could happen.
it's true.
They could order a pizza in New York and deliver it hot in San Francisco.
and it wouldn't be detrimental
smelling
to the environment.
slightly of seaweed. That's all. The only negative.
That, in some dishes, this might be an added thing.
I'm sure there's a seaweed pizza in the world somewhere.
They're going to serve sushi on this flight. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
That
They
has to.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, hello.
With all that extra seaweed, what else are you going to
And
do but
miso
eat
soup.
seaweed salad for the duration of the flight?
On to the calendar.
New top-level domains were approved by ICANN today, as expected. So, get your $185,000 out
Woo.
of your Bitcoin wallet and fill out the paperwork, and .dodobird could be yours to administer.
Hey, I've always wanted to have that.
Me
ooh,
too.
ooh, I want .PayPal for the phishing scam. No, I'm joking. I don't want that. I don't want that.
Darren, shh.
It's as, they
Eat
say
your
it's
ham
as hard to
sandwich.
get one of these as it is to get permission to build a skyscraper. So,
Or to get an essay certificate.
But I thought
No,
money
it's
could
much
buy
harder.
you
Yeah.
anything you wanted.
money can't buy you happiness, Sarah.
Oh,
Well,
I
it can buy
beg
you
to
dot.
differ.
It can buy you dot happiness.
It could
That's
buy
why I'm
ham
not happy.
sandwiches.
It's just because I don't have enough money yet. Right? Just kidding.
We'll talk later.
The HP touchpad goes up for pre-order starting at $500. It will be available on July 1st. MSI's Windows 7 tablet, the WindPad 110W. I don't know. I mean, it looks like watts to me, but whatever. It's listed at $599 pre-order at JR Music World, and it's brown. A lovely brown. Today's last day to file the replies to oppositions to the FCC over the AT&T T-Mobile merger. You may have heard about that. Those two companies want to be one big company. Firefox 5 is up for download and goes official tomorrow, June 21st. Commodore USA begins shipping replica C64s next week, fulfilling your beige bread box dreams.
The return of the C64.
It's not really.
I still have mine. I'm proud to say.
I have mine too.
I learned BASIC on that thing like 20 years ago.
And the 1541 floppy drive.
Oh, there you go.
I had a tape drive as well, the cassette drive.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And finally, Verizon tiered data plans are coming on July 7th, starting possibly at about $30.
So hurry up and sign up if you want to get one of those limited plans. So after July 7th, you're screwed.
Yep.
On to the voicemail. No?
No.
Okay. We can't play the voicemail.
Save it for
I'm
next
Ron
time.
Bergen.
So we'll just save it for tomorrow. Let's move on. Let's move on to some email. Chris in New York says he was watching Friday's show, and where we talked about Android tablet makers starting to pull out of the market, and he says he can't help but notice that the good tablets look and feel like the iPad 2. Even though I like the Tab, it doesn't feel as complete as the iPad 2. I agree with Jason and Sarah's points that because there were floods of tablets in the market, it was saturated with more bad tablets than good ones. I can see why Google wanted to take control of this before it got out of hand. Sarah made an excellent point about manufacturers like RIM and other tablet makers maybe taking their time in producing such devices. This then made me think about all the criticism that the tech industry has given Microsoft about not having a tablet strategy, when it's apparent that they are taking their time in developing a rich experience with a great ecosystem behind it. I currently own a Windows phone. I know, I just love new tech, and I think they did a good job. If this is what they produce when they take their time, then I would rather have that than a piece of junk.
I'm with you, Chris. Faster
Yeah,
is
that's a
not
very good
always
point.
better.
Yeah, I agree.
If you look at the market of Android tablets right now, it's like each one that comes out is immediately mowed down by the next version that comes out 2 or 3 weeks later. So it's definitely hard for tablet manufacturers to jump in right now on the Android front. And Microsoft, they're definitely taking their time. But of course, this is a whole new version of Windows that they have to bake to fit around whatever tablet system they come up with. So that definitely takes time. So I'm not sure how much of this is a deliberate move by Microsoft and how much of it is just them knowing that they have to make sure that they get it right. But either way, I think that them waiting is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I feel that way now, and I think it's a very good point. The question is, by 2012, which is a long way off in the electronics world, are we still going to feel that way? And is what Microsoft comes out with in 2012 going to be felt as, oh, I'm glad I waited to get this well-polished device, or is it going to be another situation where we think, oh, it's the Zune, it's too late?
Well, it's also with Windows phones. Windows phones were late to the game, and they were received very positively. People said, well, this is a really nice experience, but they were still late.
And they
so
haven't
by
sold
that
a lot,
time,
yeah.
people already have some sort of other OS that they're comfortable with and thinking, I mean, I'm one of those people. Windows Phone's very nice, but I'm just not going to switch over because I've already got my stuff.
No compelling reason.
Yeah, exactly. All right,
I mean,
next
a lot of it
team.
depends on the software, and that's the one thing that Microsoft didn't have when it launched Windows Phone. So if Microsoft can have the apps there to match up with its tablet OS, which I think that they will, that could make it a compelling platform.
Next email from Jason in Austin, who says, hey folks, very quick comment on the Amazon book spam story from last Friday. There's an easy fix here. They just need to change the economics. If they charge a fee to publish a book and then slowly credit the money back as the book sells, they could quickly make the spam unprofitable. That gets them out of the business of judging content and lets the market decide. Take care and keep up the news in the tech.
Now that
News
is
in
an
tech.
idea that has been floated for spam and email before, but it's never been workable because nobody wants to have to pay even fractions of pennies to send email. Although the idea is it would probably put an end to spam because it makes it unprofitable to send out mass emailings. I think Amazon wouldn't face the same problems that email does because it's a closed system.
Right.
And I think, as somebody who's published ebooks on Amazon, if they said, look, it's going to cost you $20, and we'll credit that back to you, I might be willing to go ahead and do that. I might be willing to take a flyer. Well, the question is that enough to stop these spammers from filling up Amazon, or would they just be willing to put the $20 because they'll know they'll make it back?
Well, I'm not sure they do know. I mean, I think the idea is just to pepper within the Amazon ecosystem to just get a few bucks here and there, and then at the end of the month, you've gotten a lot of money out of scamming people, but not a lot of money from one place. If you had to pony up $20 each time you want to put in some, fool people into buying a book that doesn't really exist.
Right.
I don't think you're going to go through the
charge
trouble
99 cents for,
to do 20 of those. All of a sudden, you're paying a lot of money, and I think it's different also from emails back and forth, because if I send you an email, I'm not necessarily putting an investment into you somehow paying for a book that I wrote. I mean, an email can be about anything. It's not necessarily
you're not
about
get your money back.
Planting the seed, to get something in return. So I think this could actually be a good and very simple idea. Thanks, Jason.
And thanks to everybody who submitted stories on our Reddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. Appreciate all the submissions. We look at them. It helps us shape the lineup, lets us know what stories you think are important. So if you haven't jumped in, join the Reddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. Even if you don't want to submit links, you can just vote things up or down. That helps us understand what things are more popular. Thanks to Mayo, Usharo, iMacAZ, Cake Wolf, Adaman423, Z-Golf, A Loud Noise, SA Jurors, Hate Bad Design, and more for submitting links. We really appreciate your help in bringing everyone together to make Tech News Today better. And thank you, Tim Stevens, for helping to make Tech News Today better. Great to have you on the show again. Let folks know what's going on over at Engadget.
Well, it's CE Week in New York City, so lots of consumer electronics are going to be announced, and there's a big Nokia event actually happening overnight, so we should be seeing a new Nokia phone, which could be the N9 if the pictures that we got this afternoon are correct. We're seeing a new N9, which is codenamed the Lanku, which sounds like a Super Mario villain who would throw spiky things at you.
Would that be a Migo phone then, or a Symbian?
It's supposedly going to be Migo, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And apparently the hardware that we're going to see is going to be very similar to what the first Windows phones will be based on. So look forward to that tomorrow. And then CE Week, all week, so we'll be seeing new laptops and phones and lots of other good stuff.
And Darren, thank you for joining us every Monday. What's up at Hack 5?
Of course, it's wonderful to be here. We have, like I said, our new show, Hack Tip. This week, if you're interested in finding out what the difference is between monitor, master, managed, ad hoc, mesh, and repeater modes are on wireless, we're breaking it down, the fundamentals over at Hack Tip. All of that's at HAK5.org. We could even teach you what a salted hashes is. They're actually quite delicious.
Not just for breakfast anymore.
No.
Yeah.
They're good with margaritas.
Bricks.twit.tv. If you still want to buy a brick, you can find us online at twit.tv/TNT. Email us TNT@twit.tv, or give us a call. 260-TNT-SHOW is the phone number. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.